You see, when whoever works in construction, they know if you're building a building, right, but your foundations have cracks, it doesn't matter how tall you get. One at one point or another, the building's gonna fall
Wow.
unless you fix that crack. So your foundation, which is God, it's a relationship with God, is gonna determine how high you're gonna go and how solid the
Wow.
building is gonna be.
Wow.
So we were growing and growing, but our foundation had a lot of cracks,
Yes.
a lot of cracks, and God had to like, listen, let's not go further up until we fix these
Because
cracks.
it could have been worse.
It could have been worse
Could have
because
been
the
much
taller
worse.
we got, the fall would have been devastated, and we might have to, come back from it.
Mm.
So that's why God was like, no, let's stop on the third floor here real quick. Let's fix the foundation,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna keep up.
Wow, that's really
So
powerful. That is. Welcome back to Voice the Kingdom. I am your host, Natalia Teixeira, and today we have an extremely special guest. I always say that, but it's really extremely special. It's my husband, Gilson Teixeira Jr. And believe it or not, it was not difficult to get him on the podcast. I think it's something I always wanted to have him be part of it, not as a guest. So maybe today starts out as a guest, but I think you guys are going to see him more and more either recording by himself or interviewing other people's other people. Um, the whole point of Voice the Kingdom, it becomes a platform that doesn't belong to me or to him, but it's something that we create that it's really for the kingdom. So we'll have a lot of people contributing to how to implement the kingdom and what it is that they do, be it motherhood, business, personal life, career, regardless of what it is. Um, we're here to really establish and implement the kingdom in everything that we do and who we are. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Um, People already know the first episode already started with the why this whole platform started. The platform started because we were in a 12-hour prayer where God clearly spoke and said, voice the kingdom. I didn't really know how it was, what he meant. I still don't know, but I knew that I needed to act. And I think that's the hardest part of when we're praying or when we're seeking God, is that we get all this information, or we're there in the presence, but very rarely do we act or do we move. And that was us in
mm,
2025. We had an extremely difficult year. We've been coming actually out of 2 years of uh, an incredibly difficult season in our life. 24, we thought it was hard. I say that all the time. 24, I thought it was hard, but and the year turned, and we think that we're magically going to start something new. Like, oh, a new cycle has started, and now everything's going to be okay. Yeah, 25. And I remember, I don't know if you're going to remember this, but I remember clear as day. We were like 3 days into the year, because I remember that the first day back into the office was January 2nd,
right.
which was when we implemented the 12-hour, the noon prayer. But I remember, like, it was either the third or the fourth day of the year, you looked at me and you said, like, brace yourself. It's going to be a difficult year. And we knew right then that, like, whatever happened 24 was nothing compared to what was going to happen in 25, that we needed to brace ourselves, but we really didn't know what to expect. And I want to talk a little bit about 25 because I think it really molded us, um, individually. You as a man, me as a woman, you as a father, me as a mother, you as a business owner and businessman, and same for me. And really understanding how to establish kingdom during hardship. Everything is so beautiful when everything is going well. Your accounts are abundantly full. Your schedule is full. You're rejecting contracts, you're rejecting jobs because you're so busy, and your team is great, and everything is just perfect. But you don't make an experienced or excellent sailor on tranquil waters. but it's very easy to be said, but very hard to live out. And I really wanted to hear from you. And I know I said a lot, but it was just to bring that understanding of what we're going to talk about. I really wanted to hear from you in terms of your experience in 2025. And then we can, from there, I think we can set up the questions of, well, how did you manage it? How did you understand God was working with you? And really bring it raw. Like, as we've been married for 21 years. Yay. So 21 years. This year is going to be 22, but it's at the end of this year. So we've been through a lot. We
Mm-hmm.
have two adult children. We've
Yes.
run a business for 14 years. We've been through highs and lows. But how was 25 different?
Well, 25 was very, was,
Yeah,
yeah,
you almost want to cry when we go there.
yeah, I just want to cry. But, well, like you said, I mean, it was so funny because 24, we came back to church, but,
Do you want to kind of go a little bit into that, like real, like a small summary, so people can catch up to what happened in our life?
well, I mean, I mean, we were not going to church. We were not being faithful, and I have a lot of like a bunch of stuff.
Faithful with
Um,
the Lord, not with each other.
yeah, with the
We
Lord,
were we were distant from church. We were prioritizing work.
right, right. We were prioritizing work, and I was so blinded by what was happening to me that I kind of had a problem with my family. Like I wasn't noticing that my kids were growing without Christian roots. Um, so it was difficult, but I was so blinded because in my mind I thought everything was going fine, like because business was like booming, everything was
And when you say you think everything was going fine, was it because you felt like you were like an autopilot? You were just going about your day
right,
with no real intentions or purpose?
right, right.
Okay.
And that was fun. That was funny because I would say probably because we've been in business for 13 years.
It'll be 14 this year.
We'll be 14 this year. So the first 10 years, we were able to like buy anything that we want, do whatever we want, travel, so money was not an issue. But I always felt this emptiness in my heart that I was always depressed. I was always looking for something
To fulfill that
to
hole.
fulfill that hole. Um, but meanwhile, certain things that now I come to realize that there is a place, there is a hole that only God could fill. So, and then what happened was that we have promises since we were
Children.
children, and God will not let you go. Doesn't matter how many years pass by. There was one time that He's just gonna say, "Listen, that's it. It's over. Now you have
Playtime is over.
playtime is over. Now you have to come back." And I think that's what happened to us because just so uh, just a summary, like 23, we had about 15 jobs
Lined up
lined up,
to start.
to start. So, and good jobs. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, fine, but I wasn't going to church. I wasn't feeling, and I'm not talking about church building. I'm talking about like
Having a
ministry,
relationship with God.
having a relationship with God.
So just pause, because you know how men are horrible at explaining things. Um, my husband and I grew up in church. Our whole life was church Sunday through Sunday. So we had a very, very strong church foundation in our families. We also have a very strong family foundation. Our parents are alive and well and married and in love. They're great examples of family and wholesomeness. And as our business was progressing, the farther away we were from God, not only not attending church, we were not having a relationship with God. We were autosufficient.
Correct, correct. And with the Hardy Global Mission, because we were financing, we were like
It's our
sending money.
nonprofit. It's
It's
our
our
nonprofit organization.
correct. And then I was sending money out there, and I thought that was sufficient, which it wasn't,
I'm
obviously.
doing my part, Lord. I'm helping the poor.
Correct,
Right.
correct. But that's definitely wasn't it. And then So 24 came. So 23 was okay. We start feeling a little bit at the end, but then 24 came and then all the doors closed.
Mm.
So like the jobs we had just didn't go through it, and the funny thing is that the Lord used my mom to tell me that playtime was over, that I had to, like, that was it, that I had to go back to the Lord. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then my mom was like, no, you don't understand. Things are, you're going to be crushed from now on. And I'm like, I'm going to be crushed. I have like 15 jobs, big jobs. So I'm doing, it's like, what do you mean? Um, but within a month, which was December of 23, all the work that I had lined up for 24 just fell through. So I knew I knew this was a God thing.
You knew it was spiritual.
I knew it was spiritual. I knew it was something because I just knew it. Well, like once you have a relationship with God, doesn't matter what point in your life, you will know when it's spiritual. You will know when it's God calling you. But I was so blinded about a whole bunch of stuff, and I had so much stuff in my heart that I just couldn't see it. So I just got very angry because this fear of me losing everything. Like, I had a bike. We had cars, two cars, like, new cars. Our house, we were able to, you know, help our friends and travel, and so all of a sudden,
We had a comfortable life.
a very comfortable life. So all of a sudden, this all went away, and then the fear came as like, oh my God, we're gonna lose our house. What am I gonna do? And as a man, as a head of the house, I kind of freaked out because it all fell on me because I had to take care of you and the kids. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? Not only you and the kids, but also the people that work for me, the families that I feel responsible for to this day. Um, so so I just, like, I went into a mental breakdown, and that was not fun. There was a point in time that I just saw it, and I didn't see any way out, no way out whatsoever. Um, and then I used to bid on the jobs. We lowered our prices, and I wasn't getting anything.
We got to the point where we were almost paying to work because we were so desperate to
Yes,
just, because we knew it was in our reputation. We knew that we had 10 years, by that time, we had 10 years of solid work, all of them positive, great relationship. Our name was being whispered all over.
yeah. Up to that point, like, I never had to search for a job because of our reputation. People actually wanted to work with us, so the work came to me. But
The blessings of the Lord were running after
right,
you.
right. But I just had my mind in a different. It was a different. I had a different set of mind. Like, I have a different way. I had a different way of thinking, and it was.
So
You know what it is. I always, all of my life, I always thought that I had the favor of God in me, and I did. But there was a point in time when I start to prosper and I start to really make money, um, because we came from nothing, and
we
then all of a sudden we had this change of life really fast, and I thought that it would never end. But the thing is, and this is how I feel, like when you have when God has a plan in your life, your 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 business, well, let's say business, because we have a business. So our business, our financial life, it should work, and it should be even with your spiritual life. So if you're, and this is what I learned after all this hardship that we went through, if my spiritual life is really low and my business is high, it's just not going to work.
Mm-mm.
So like, as the way, and now, thank God, I mean, we're starting to, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we start to move and things. But now we're actually growing
More spiritually.
spiritually and and financially, but both it's going even. So like for example, like there are days that there are weeks that we have
Nothing.
nothing, but I don't feel depressed as I used to feel before, because going through this hardship, it really made me seek God to the point that I had of no way out. I had no way out. I had people calling me, threatening me, um, you know, um, and rightfully so, because they really they
They
want their money.
exactly.
You know,
But how? Explain to me a little bit of your process as a man, your process as in 24. How was 24 different than 25? Meaning 2024, how was it different than 2025 in terms of how did you, Junior, walked into this valley of the shadow of death, and how did you, Junior, come out of it?
I haven't come out yet.
Yes, you have. Yes, we
So
have.
like yeah, so I still have scars.
I know, yeah, and we're gonna look at them every day, and we're like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Right.
I
Still
want
painful.
I want to talk
Just want to
about.
say it's still
I
painful.
know, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, like you were talking about your spiritual and your financial. I want to talk about the balance of both. Like there are things like, for example, I talked about the season of dance a couple episodes back and how we were praying, we were seeking, and we were fasting, but we weren't moving. How important it is in kingdom business to establish your spiritual life and have that foundation. But you're not so spiritually obese to the point that all you do is pray, all you do is fast, but you're not moving. How do you see the balancing of both worlds? The actual business world where numbers need to make sense. And we know that spiritual numbers don't make sense, right? The Lord multiplied um, 3 loaves and 2 fishes, 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Well, then the second time was three, right? Um, and we know that heavenly math is not earthly math. But how important is it to live here, having to run a P&L, run a go through your bank reconciliation, pay your employees, and reconcile the spiritual and living by faith and believing that God is going to do it when you don't see it. I think that's really hard for any human being, especially for men.
Well, for men, and also um, for my perspective. See, the thing is, like, I'm a control freak.
Mm.
I always been. So this whole thing about you gotta trust in God, that's great. You trust in God, but I always wanted to know the next move. Like, for example, oh yeah, I was the type of person that, if I had to do something, I plan A, B, and C. Right? If one falls through, then I could run to this, I could run to that. But what God did to us is He took everything,
Everything.
everything,
There
and
was no plan A, no plan B, and no
no,
plan. We didn't even have plan A.
absolutely not. And then
Mm-hmm.
I had to the point that there was a point that I was like, okay, business wise, let's say, I think I'm gonna have to close the business, but I couldn't close the business because even if I closed the business, it still wouldn't help me because the way God did
Orchestrated the whole thing.
orchestrate the whole thing, it was just it,
We
it,
couldn't move.
we couldn't move. It was amazing because I felt like, and the thing is, you you were very very positive. You understood right away. You see, the thing is, because of my personality and the way I was and the way I am still, I get very angry. I get very angry when things don't turn out because I had this mentality that I grew up in church. I've never done anything wrong. I try to do everything right by me and by others and all that. So I was like, why doesn't God have my back now? But what I wasn't seeing is that he always had my back, but I kind of drifted away from his presence. And I actually was thinking about that this past couple of days. When you drift away from his presence, you also drift away from his favorite. So I had a favorite with God all my life, even without understanding. But there's a point in time that you actually have to stop being a child and becoming an adult in the presence of God, become mature in the presence of God. So this maturity, this process that I've been going through, it's been very painful because in 30 years that I'm Christian, I was saved, when I was 14. Um, I always thought that being a Christian, being this, being that was a kind of a religious thing, and it's really not. You could be your whole life thinking that you're Christian, but if you don't have a relationship with God, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And this past 2 years that we've been going through, um, it's like the experiences of God. It's been crazy. But 24, I was not there yet. Even though I went back to church, I was getting like, you know, prophecies. I was getting all these great things, and I'm like, okay, great. So I'm back at church, but my heart hadn't really changed. I was going back, I was better, but I was still feeling angry. I was still feeling different. I was still feeling different. And I always thought that I knew I had to go back to the presence of the Lord to get his favor back.
Do you think that do you think that what we went through 24, 25 was important for you to go back into the God's?
Absolutely.
You think it was purposefully made for us to be where we are today?
Absolutely. Like I could even see like the relationship we have now with our children, with Brian and Olivia, especially Brian. Brian's gonna be 20 this year. So I always gave him everything that he wanted. And the thing is, I try to give him stuff that I never had growing up. But one thing that I did not give him was something that my dad gave it to me and my mom gave it to me, was the relationship with God and the family, like that relationship with family. So I thought I was giving to him and to Olivia, but meanwhile I was just like, hustling, trying to get more jobs, trying to get more money, and I wasn't really spending time with them. I wasn't really staying at the house. I wasn't really, um, you know, I wasn't really teach them how, basically the way I grew up, to know the Lord. So I wasn't. I was not a good father, and that kills me to this day. But the past 2 years, it was like the hardest years of our lives, hardest. But at the same time, spiritually, it brought me so close to God that He actually saved my family.
I'm going to just correct you because I'm your wife and I get to do that.
And she's very pretty, isn't she? Pretty. She's so pretty.
Oh, honey,
I love you. She's so pretty. Yeah.
you are a great father. You may not have been the father you wanted to be, where in terms of bringing Brian closer to God in his youth, in
Right.
his younger years, but you were always, you didn't give him maybe the quality time you wanted, because today he's an adult and he chooses maybe other things over us, right? But you were a great father. You never was someone who beat him, who cursed him, or who who belittled him. We've made a lot of mistakes, where which one of those things were giving them everything they wanted because we didn't have that. So that was mistake number one, where we should have taught them to fight harder for things, right? I
Right.
think that's not only our children, I think it's part of this generation where they don't fight as hard as we fought. But you are an extraordinary father, and I think that I carry a lot of that too. Like, I could have definitely been a better mother. I look at other people around me and examples, and I'm like, wow, she's such a great mother. But it doesn't take away from who we are and who we were to them and who we are now. I think that's the greatest gift, is recognizing our mistakes, still very young, us and them, and implement it now. So I just wanted to really stayed
Yeah,
out.
no, I appreciate that, but I still have this guilt. It's not because it's because the way I grew up and my values, I I was so I was so focused on other things that I did not give the values, the Christian-based values, to my kids. Um, you see, I was always part of the youth group, the teens. I grew up on that environment.
Our children didn't create roots.
Correct. But God is so merciful that this past 2 years, I was actually able to bring them to church.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the greatest gifts because, I could see my son experiencing things, being baptized by the Holy Spirit, him and Olivia, and things that we know it's more important than money.
Yeah.
And having the roots, and then being this thirst for more.
Yeah.
So it's something that now I always see that if I had gone, and if I was going to kept going to the way I was going, yes, I would be, very, very, I guess I wouldn't even say blessed,
Mm-hmm.
because I would probably lost my family,
Mm-hmm.
but I would be like bigger
Financially speaking.
financially speaking. But my family would have probably gone to hell, and so I will get there, because that's the promise of God. We will get there.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to start. Things are starting to shift,
Mm-hmm.
but now I feel like they shift in the right way.
Right.
So I feel like even though we have the scars, we have the pain still, but God showed us this year that He could change things in moments.
Yeah.
It's like in a moment. He's the God of the moment. He
Right.
opens doors
And
when
mm-hmm.
there's nothing. Um, but 24, it's funny because 24, I was like, okay, so I'm back at church. I'm doing okay.
I'm serving.
I'm serving. I served, I was praying, things that I never did, but I was doing this out of desperation, out of I need to get the favor of God right away because I need it. So the 24 was really hard for me because I was going to church, I was serving the Lord, I was doing all that, but I wasn't really loving the Lord. I was actually after His favor, because on the 24, I was like, I need to correct myself with God so I could go back to that life that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So my intentions were a little blurry and were not in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So then in 24 to 25, we had our service at church,
Oh,
and
you mean the between
the new year.
The December 30th.
Yeah.
Okay.
So God told our pastor that that year, the 25th, the 25, was going to be the year of
Provision.
provision.
Yeah, I
So
remember that.
I was like, all right, this is awesome. So things change. Now I'm back in my life. My family's back at church. So the provision, right?
So we're like the expectation of 25 is gonna be great.
Yeah, 25 is going to be awesome. Best year of our
It's gonna be the
life.
best year of our lives. We
Uh,
say that
uh,
every year.
yeah, but this year has been.
This year has been.
But 25, I was like, okay, so switched it. That's it. Past is the past. 24 is over. Thank God. And 25. But for you to live God's provision, you have to have
Need
a need. And we lived the whole year
in provision.
in provision. God
He
came
came
through
through.
all the time. He came through, but it was scary because
Can we talk about that? Can we
mm,
go talk about that? Because it's like God provides, right? And we're talking about like the basic needs: grocery, mortgage payment, payroll, rent for the office and shop. Can we talk about how A is exciting to receive God's provision when you have nothing, and B, that constant
well, it's
fe-
exciting when it's there. But if it's not there, until it gets there, it's not
Can you
exciting.
talk about your emotional roller coaster dealing with God's provision and how difficult it is in practice?
Well, it's crazy. Like I said, like I mentioned before, I'm a control freak. So I need to have control of things. When I don't have control of things, it goes crazy. I go crazy. So I had a mental breakdown. I had
And I would love to get you on other episodes, even talking alone about mental health,
right,
and because men really don't talk about that.
right. Um, but now I talk. If you want to,
You want to
I'm
listen?
here.
I'm ready to talk.
I'm like screaming to whoever wants to listen. I don't care. But yeah, it was a really dark moment in my life because I thought my life was over. I thought I had no way out. I thought I was gonna lose my family, lose my house, lose the business that I tried so hard to build. Um, I was like such a dark moment that I couldn't control my mind. So I had to rely on medicine. I went to the doctor several times. I had panic attacks. There were times that I was not sleeping, for weeks at a time. So when you don't sleep a whole night and then the day you get so tired and you lose focus, I was making mistakes because of my mind wasn't there, to the point that I told Nat and the girls here in the office, is like, you guys need to help me double check my work because I was making mistakes that would cost me thousands of dollars and wouldn't help me. So it was crazy when, and then I start feeling like God put me in a position that I felt like I had to get close to him. There were times that a lot of people were calling me and threatening me, and it was so difficult that I didn't want to leave my room, right? And now we have this prayer closet, and it's so funny because I'll never forget. There was one day, there was a week that was extremely hard. We didn't have money for anything. It was hard. I went into the closet, and I was so broken that I just told the Lord, I was like, please just let me be in your lap. Just hug me right now. And I was like, I put my phone down because my phone wouldn't stop. So I put my phone, I was like, I can't, I just want to be here quiet without any noise. And the thing is, it was a very difficult year, extremely difficult. And I was so, I felt like I was on a fire, and I was on a big fire. I was in the middle of it. So I wasn't seeing what was happening around me, even though you caught it first. You woke up first, and you're like, listen, God is providing for us. God is doing this, and I just wouldn't care.
You were mad.
I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at everything because I was like, you know what? I never stole from anyone. I never did anything, and now I'm going through this. What's going on? To the point that one day I said to God, I was like, aren't you so powerful? Why can't you just change my situation tomorrow? And but that's not it. I mean, God wants to change your heart. God wants to make sure that you're mentally focused on him, that will nothing will bother you. And being a man of the house and being a leader at the companies and ministries and all that, you have to be close to God, because if not, you go crazy. You go crazy. It's because it's so much pressure. It's so much things that you need to rely on God for everything. So my point is, 24 and 25 was very, very hard. But now that I'm looking at it with more,
Different
clarity,
perspective. Yeah.
different perspective, I could actually see God's provision on everything that he did on 25, 24, everything. I was just so mad and so not focused on what I needed to be focusing, that I didn't see God's provision. But God was always there. God was always speaking to me. But you know, Jesus is a gentleman. God is, he speaks to you like softly. You have to listen to him.
You have to quiet
You have to
down.
quiet down and listen to him. He's not like the devil that's gonna kick doors. He's not. He's gonna ask. He's gonna knock, and you have to open the door for him to come in. And these things are like, it's just, it was hard for me to understand that, but now I don't fully understand, but I'm starting to understand. what God wants to do. And you know, and I feel like what God wants to do, you know, what it's like we're living we're living in the last days. Let's put it this way. So the devil is not playing. He never played.
He doesn't play around.
He doesn't play around.
Yeah.
He never played around. But us as Christians, we get so focused on worldly things that we kind of miss the purpose of what we need to do.
Wow.
So like until I let go of the things that were really bothering me, until I let go and I say, God, I just want to do whatever you want me to do. And that's what I'm being seeking is I need to do what God wants me to do. It's something like it's almost like the air that I breathe.
Right.
It bothers me like if I'm not doing what wants me to do.
But let me ask you something as a control freak, and I think it's going to help a lot of men and head of households and leaders of companies. And I know you're still learning this, and we all are. But today, let's say the world ends today, and you can give this advice to the people who stay. The junior today, how did you learn to surrender control? And I know it's a thing that you surrender today, tomorrow you pick it up again. And I know it's that fight because that's who we are as humans. But you always having to be in control of things. How what have you learned? I know it's not perfect, but what have you learned on how, because I remember we had a conversation a year ago, and I kept saying that it's, you have to surrender, you have to surrender. And you looked at me and you said, I don't know how.
Right.
What have you learned from the I don't know how to today?
Well, first of all, you have no control. I never had control in my life.
So you had to
Ever.
first figure out that you didn't have the control to begin
I
with.
never had. I never had. What happened was God just let me do my stuff for a few years. But he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna let you do it. But I never had control. You never have control of your life.
Oh wow.
You
You
try to
think you
have
do.
you think you do, but you don't.
No.
Because God just snapped his fingers and everything changes in my life to show me that he has the control. I
Yeah.
don't. So for me now, I have no choice. So it's not like, like I'm trying to control, I can't control something that's out of my control now. So I just let go. I was like, God, you know what? You do what you want. And I was always a perfectionist, which is good to a certain point. But like for example, I always thought that what people was thinking of me would matter more than what God would think of me. Like for example, customers, whoever has a have a business, how important it is to have a great relationship with with your clients, with your customers. So if the customer didn't like something, I would try to do everything in my power, even if it costs me money, to get that done correctly. And a lot of times I feel like people used to walk all over me and cost me money. So I was taking money out of my table to feed people that had like 4 or 5 times more money than I did, but just for me to please them. And lately, since I let go of things, right now I just put in God's hands,
What
and
does it look like to let go?
it's scary.
But
It's
what do you do in practice and reality to let go?
Well, right now I just don't think about it too much.
And
Uh,
when you do think about it, what happens?
I just give it to the Lord because I start getting anxious and I can't have anxiety anymore. Anxiety it's something that we all learn. The anxiety is it's consciously or unconsciously you're not trusting God
Mm-hmm.
for the next move. So right now I'm trying to keep my sanity, just trusting God. You
And how
know,
do you apply that in practice?
well I gotta face the things that I need to do. I gotta do. That's what I've been doing. Like, customer and suppliers been calling me. I have to answer the phone. I have to call them, and I just have to tell the truth and face it.
So good. You got into a subject that I wanted to go in. We had an extremely difficult year where we were between a rock and a hard place. I play around. I said we're behind. Egypt's army is running after us in the Red Sea, right? And we're not. we're in so much fear that we're paralyzed that we're either going to drown or we're going to just get crushed. And that fear that paralyzes you because you don't know how you're going to buy groceries for your family. You don't know if your house is going to go on foreclosure. You don't know if you're going to get sued. And then you don't, the fear is so intense that we're completely illogical. We don't even know what to think. We're just scared. And that really created a moment to be paralyzed,
Yes.
me and you in business, where we couldn't think clearly.
Yes.
I spent most of my year 25 just praying and fasting. And
Mm-hmm.
I lost so much weight, which I'm very happy about. Uh, but just praying and fasting, and you spent a lot of the year angry,
Mm-hmm.
right? What kind of advice can you give someone who's going through a hardship right now, who's going through something, who probably hasn't, they don't even have who to talk to about this, and what things you applied in your life to overcome the fear? How did you implement kingdom and through hardship? Because it's very easy for you to be a good person, paying your bills on time, answering the phone, supplying what people need. But what about when God takes everything away? And even though you want to pay your employee, you don't have the money. Even though you want to pay your mortgage, you don't have the money. Even though you want to pay your supplier, you don't have the money. And then you are in the wrong because you do owe that money
Mm-hmm.
and they deserve to get their money, but you don't have it. How do you implement kingdom when you're going through that intense period?
Well, first of all, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to be on that point that you said, I can't do anything else. Situations like this, like people, they don't determine who you are. God does. Okay. So yeah, it's just a phase. You learn that everything is just a phase, but you have to get closer to God, because that will determine how long this phase will stay. Because if you're going through a struggle, if you're going through something, it's because God is trying to teach you something. And you just basically, you could just do what you need to do and talk to people. Like what I've learned, and throughout my friends, I was so desperate that I actually went through a couple of friends and told them, like, listen, I'm taking this medicine because my mind is just, I can't focus. I can't do anything. I used to play soccer. I don't want to play soccer anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just going crazy. And it was so funny because every time I went to talk to other guys, and they were so close, but I opened up because I was so desperate to talk to someone, they all came through and they're like, wow, I'm going through the same thing. Like, we need to talk. We need to do this. We need to do, because you need to talk. You need to talk because you need to talk. You need to pray together.
You need to be in community. You can't be alone.
You can't be alone, because that's why a lot of people, you know, kill themselves, really.
Yeah.
And you can't. You just, like, listen, this is just a moment. This is, so, like, look, if you have to restart your life again, you will restart your life and God will help you build it, but it's the relationship that you will have with God. It has to be so strong that no matter what comes your way, you will know that God is right next to you. And that's what I've learned, that I don't want to have control in my life. Like, I even talked to you a couple of times that even when I go to a meeting, I want to be able to just ask God, is like, God, what do you want me to wear
Mhm.
for this meeting? What do you want me to say? Or you don't want me to say anything? Should I sign this contract? I want God to have this control. I don't want control anymore. I'm done. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy the moments. I don't want to, because before, you remember before, I was on my phone all the time. We used to go on vacations. I couldn't relax because I was always thinking about the business here, what's going on, something's gonna happen, and I didn't relax. Like, we took amazing vacations that I did not enjoy,
Yeah.
and now I'm gonna be 45. Is it 45? 44.
44.
44. So I'm gonna be 44, and I don't want to live the rest of my life like this.
Yeah.
I don't. I want to enjoy the little things. I want to enjoy, the big things that God has in our way. But most of all, I want to do what God wants me to do. I want to be in His favor. I want to be in His plan.
What was the biggest thing, the biggest lesson? I know we're still learning a lot, but what, if you can share something, what was the biggest lesson you learned during this valley?
Well, first of all, you're no match to God. That's
Yeah.
one. Doesn't matter. You want to fight God, you're going to lose. And He's just going to laugh. You're going to lose, and He's just going to laugh. So, God, and He's there. He's just like it's funny because you look at your father and a father and a child, and the child just doing crazy things, to catch the
Father's attention.
father's attention. And that's what I was doing. I was mad. I was doing all this, and it's like the father or God was just like, okay, are you done? Are you done? Because we got work to do, and you're still doing this. Are you done? When are you going to realize that I have something better for you? When are you going to realize that there's something more? It's funny because this past weekend, the things that happened,
Mm-hmm.
that I really felt that God had my back. It's funny because I realized, and not that I, all your life, people tell you preachers and all that, so but I knew, I actually saw, I had a revelation because I saw what it is, and I felt it. I was like, there's a lot more that we need to do, and there's a lot more that needs to be done than just build fortune.
Yeah.
And that's going to come because we're doing things right. That's we're going to go up there, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
promise of God.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't have my heart anymore.
Right.
Like my heart right now is, I need to do what God
One.
called me to do.
Right.
And then money is a tool.
Yeah.
Money, it's gonna come, and people are gonna come, and businesses and all that. But if I had built fortune and I did do all that, but if I get to that point, when I get to that point, if I would still feel the emptiness in my heart that I did, and being depressed that I did before I had a relationship with God, then I don't want it.
Yeah.
Because there's a hole, like I said before, there's a hole in your life, there's a hole in your heart
Mm-hmm.
that only God could
So,
fill.
if there, one last thing before we close, if there's a person watching us right now and they don't know where to begin, they identified with your story and they know that whatever I'm going through is spiritual. God closed all the doors to get my attention. And because you already went through the test, right? What advice can you give this person so they can get there faster?
Okay, well, first of all, we're gonna put my Instagram on this, so you could contact me and we could talk.
We can cry together.
We could cry together. I'm a crier now. We could cry together. If you belong to a community like a church, talk to your pastor, get into a group, talk to other people in your, I don't want to say level, but yes, in your level. Like if you're a business, just look
Talk to
for
another business owner.
another business owner, because he's going through the same thing that you're going through,
And no
or
one's talking.
no one's talking, or even worse. And you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna find out that you're gonna help each other. Get
Because, can I pause right there? Because you told me for a long time that it's not possible that other people are going through this.
right.
You used to say that. You're
I
like,
used
no,
to
I'm the only one going through this.
right,
No one else is going
and
through
I
this.
used to say God is punishing me.
Yeah.
It's not, because God, and that's another thing. God does not punish you. He uses situations to work on you, but he does not punish you.
To bring you
So
closer.
all this stuff that I'm going through, God used that to bring me closer to him. But these are consequences of my mistakes that I did. That, by the mercy of God, that we corrected and we're coming out of it.
We're going to do
But
another episode about mistakes in business and
right,
fixing.
right. But yeah, just find, that group. Just talk to your pastor, talk to other Christian business owners, and talk. And most of all, like the most important thing, start praying, start talking to God,
Tell him how
little
you
by
feel.
little. Tell how you feel. Do not tell other people, like, because not everybody is ready to listen to you, other than obviously people that are going through or have more experience. But you know, just talk to God. If you want to scream, if you want to, if you want to fight, if you want to argue with God. Just get into a place that is you and God, and just let it out. And then you will see that your vision will start to open and your mind will clear. And and like I said, you could send me
A DM
a DM, and we'll
and
talk,
connect.
and we'll
Yeah.
connect, we'll talk.
Okay. Well, I loved having you here. This was amazing. It was so good to interview you out of the space of being your wife, even though I try to separate those things. It's very hard. Um, but I know we're going to have more and more of you here on the podcast talking about business owner, fatherhood, husbandhood, brotherhood, and I know we have so many subjects to touch on, and God is just beginning to do. He's already done beautiful things. I think it takes us a minute to walk into them. It takes us a minute to understand what He's doing. Like you said, He didn't punish us. He was correcting and adjusting, and correction really hurts. Um, and sometimes it takes us a little while to understand what's happening, and He uses that pain to bring us closer. The pain is really a gift. Would you say that today?
It
Would you
is.
say
It
I
is.
know it's hard while you're going through it, but with the perspective of looking back, do you see pain as a gift?
Yeah. The thing is, like, and I just thought about it now. You see, when whoever works in construction, they know if you're building a building, right, but your foundations have cracks, it doesn't matter how tall you get. One at one point or another, the building's gonna fall
Wow.
unless you fix that crack. So your foundation, which is God, it's a relationship with God. It's going to determine how high you're going to go and how solid the
Wow.
building is going to be.
Wow.
So we were growing and growing, but our foundation had a lot of cracks,
Yes.
a lot of cracks. And God had to, like, listen, let's not go further up until we fix these
Because
cracks.
it could have been worse.
It could have been worse,
It could have
because
been
the
much
taller we
worse.
got, the fall would have been devastated, and we might have to, come back from it.
Mm.
So that's why God was like, no, let's stop on the third floor here real quick. Let's fix the foundation,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna keep up.
Wow, that's really
So
powerful. That is
yeah.
really powerful. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. God bless you.